Today we're going to meet with our new Director of Education, Bryan Thompson-Nowak. There's also special guest appearances in the room today. You may have noticed Bob Kowski's in the back. Hey Bob, how's it going?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
And yeah, Bryan's been here in different forms for 10 years. He'll let you know all the details.
It feels like 10 years.
Yeah. Okay. Take it away.
All right, great. Well, my name's Bryan Thompson-Nowak. I was like a new Director of Education, but I think after talking to Bob last week, I realized it's been a little over a year now. So yeah, so not as new as I would say, but definitely a year into it, and obviously right in the middle of the pandemic. Before I start, I just want to ask you guys, why do you volunteer? What do you love about the Arboretum? Not everyone, but just a few folks. Now I'll say why I love the place and why I'm here. But there are a few folks that, what do you like about this place? Why do you choose to spend your time here doing this and coming here all the time?
Well, I just love trees, and you certainly can't get more than you're here. And the visual, anywhere you look, is so wonderful. No matter how busy my life might be, here it's very relaxing and very peaceful. And I love to give tours to people and make them laugh and have fun. I can't wait till the kids start coming back.
I love the quality. It just seems like the quality of everything is so high.
Awesome. Anybody else? Two more?
I have one.
Go ahead, Lorraine.
The thing that I like, the Morris Arboretum is my slice of heaven. But what I really enjoy over these past 7 or 8 years is all of this. I have met the greatest people in the world. We all share something in common. We all have different backgrounds, but yet we all love the Morris Arboretum.
Awesome.
I'm a plant geek, and I love the fact that I can hang out with other plant geeks and they get me. That's so cool.
All right.
I'm inspired to be a plant teacher. Trust me, I started out with no knowledge, so obviously exposure has helped a great deal.
Okay, obviously there's a lot of different reasons to love coming here. And I'll just give my short one. I was not a public garden person at all growing up. We go camping, we'd be outdoors, but we'd never, I grew up in Montgomery County, not too far from here. We didn't go to botanic gardens. So when I first started working as an intern, I just found out, wow, people really get turned on to nature coming here. People, maybe they're not big outdoorsy hiking, rafting buffs, but they come here and they see a new tree, they see a new plant, and they get really excited, and it can spark something to move their life on. And for me, when I was an intern, it just completely pivoted my life from wanting to be an outdoorsy person to wanting to work in public gardens. So, I mean, I was an intern in 2010, and ever since then, it's been public gardens the whole time. So for me, it's been life-changing, and obviously for a lot of you, the Morris Arboretum has changed your life in some way since you started coming here, whether it's socially or finding other plant nerds and plant geeks. But it's a great place, and I think I'm really excited to still be here. And though it's not been 10 years, it's actually been, I was an intern for 1 year in 2010, and I've been at the Arboretum back since 2015. So I guess all total, it's been a little over 7 years, which is almost, feels like 10 years. Yeah, I know, only 7 years.
I was counting intern time.
Yeah, 6 years, 6 years as a full-time staff and 1 year as an intern. But I'll pedal back a little bit. Like I said, I grew up in Montgomery County, not too far from here in Royersford, if anyone knows Royersford, out 422 going towards the nuclear power plant. I went to college at Albright College in Reading, so I stayed even more local. I followed my cousin. If anyone knows Pam Olszewski in horticulture, we are cousins. So she's a few years older than me. She went to Albright to be an environmental science major. I followed her 2 years later to go to Albright to be an environmental science major. She worked here, I work here. So I've been following my older cousin for, geez, I don't know, 10 years now, or 15 years. Yeah, so after that, I actually worked at a nature center for almost 9 years, worked in Great Valley Nature Center. So I left college and just started doing summer camp, school tours for elementary kids, going to preschools to take animals there, doing adult trips with canoeing, kayaking. I did it all. I did all that stuff for 9 years. So all the tours you do for school groups, I was doing that, not every day, but all the school year round. We do tours for students, and then we'd also, when in the winter time, we'd take the van, load up with artifacts and animals, and go into schools. So I did that for a long time. In the summers, we did summer camp every year with, what was it, about 200 kids a week, also in 10 different camps. So I was in charge of I was the adventure program coordinator, which is a pretty cool title. Probably one of the best titles I've had is the adventure program coordinator. So I did the canoeing, the kayaking, the rock climbing, the rafting for teenagers and up into adults. So it was an amazing job, and that's what really got me into education. If you looked at me in the 90s, I never would stand in front of a group of people. I'm not sure if anyone here was shy, younger, than having to be with a group of kids. It's probably one of the best ways to get comfortable speaking in front of people. So with me, my gateway to being comfortable in front of people was 6-year-olds. You guys all get to work with 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds. They're great and they're always excited. So that was my gateway into education, was being with kids, just like what a lot of you guys do today, or mostly here until the pandemic hit. So the Nature Center was a huge influence on my life. That's why I got really into environmental education, all the things, and actually I find it really useful now when we do summer camp in Aklamo. I go back to my summer camp days of 9 years of summer camping. That also comes flooding back, and all the things that we did then is still very applicable today in all the things that we do. My wife and I took 1 year break in there when we got married in the mid-2000s, and we bicycled across country from Philadelphia to Portland, Oregon. That took us, it was a big year in my life. It was 3 months doing that. We wanted to take a whole year off getting married, so we did that for 3 months. We then went to Hawaii and worked on a farm in Hawaii for 4 months. So it was an organic ginger farm. So we lived it's a thing called woofing. It's where you do, like, some people might heard of it, where you just live in a little shed on the coast of Hawaii. Woofing, yes, it's willing workers on organic farms. So you get hooked up with farms. So we did that it's all around the world. At the time, you could do it anywhere. So we were in Hawaii for 4 months, picking and growing organic ginger, and it was amazing. And we left there to go to China for 5 months to teach English in China. So we did 3, 4, 5 months, 12 months all total. Our student loan payments came due again. We had to come back home. So you can't live like that for forever. And that's why I took a gap year at the Nature Center, and actually came back to Nature Center to my old job, which was really lucky. I had no intention of doing that, but I did it. So I came back to my old Nature Center job and did that for another 3 years, and still did all the same stuff. We actually, my wife and I really got the travel bug again, and we lived and worked in Haiti for 2 years doing reforestation and environmental education work in Haiti. So we were in rural Haiti. I'll say it's like a 2-hour drive outside of Port-au-Prince, which is only like 35 or 40 miles. It wasn't too far outside of Port-au-Prince, but we lived in rural Haiti with no electricity, no running water, the whole thing, doing reforestation work. So we worked with a network of like 20 small nurseries where we did environmental ed, reforestation in Haiti for 2 years. So we were there for the earthquake in 2010. Our positions got shifted to disaster aid, which we were okay with, but then after 6 months, we got a little burned out of disaster relief and came back, and that's when I became an intern here. In Haiti, I got really turned on to trees, and in Haiti I saw how trees could really affect people's lives for the better. So we were helping people. There's a lot of deforestation problems in Haiti, so really getting people to grow trees, harvest them for charcoal sustainably is what we were doing. I could see how it really impacted people's lives when we shifted to this model. So I really wanted to focus more on trees, so Arboretum made sense, and being an arborist kind of made sense, so I applied for the arborist intern position here. My cousin gave me a little bit of a nudge for that, so it's good to have an inside person. And I became the arborist intern, so that whole year I was climbing trees, pruning trees, learning how to climb trees, doing all that stuff. And my intern project way back then actually shifted back to education because I'm still an educator at heart, so I worked with Liza and Jan, Lisa to do a how do arborists climb trees. So there's a little A-frame that I think is still here from 2010 that the arborists would put out. It's like, how do we climb trees? What are we doing? So sometimes I think the arborists might put that out. That was my intern project 10 years ago was that. Because I always still wanted to teach people what we were doing. We'd be up in a tree here at the Arboretum and kids would come up and say, what are you doing? Why are you up there? So half our time here in trees was almost education. You always want to know what you're doing up in that tree. You might experience that too. If you see an arborist up in a tree, you just want to know what they're doing and you want to walk closer to where they're dropping big branches. Yeah, so like I said earlier, coming here just started pivoting my life. I was like, botanic gardens, arboretum, public gardens are great. So I set my sights on the Longwood graduate program. If anyone has ever heard of that, it's a master's degree program that Longwood Gardens used to fund through University of Delaware. It's shifted now a little bit, but I set my sights on that. And if anyone was here 10 years ago, Sarah Levin, anyway, Sarah Levin, Bob does. Okay, she was the education intern at the time. She went into the grad program, and lots of Arboretum interns went on to the Longwood graduate program, which is a 2-year degree in public horticulture. Like I said, that Longwood funded through UD. So I set my sights on that, and after a couple of years of applying, not getting in, I got in. So it's 2013 I got in that program. It is great. Longwood Gardens, I'm sure you've all been there, is an amazing institution. They really take education very seriously. They want to train the next generation of leaders in all sorts of ways, whether it's in leadership or in the public or the horticulture end. They do a lot of education. I owe a lot to them. Bob is actually a graduate of that program. Paul's a graduate of that program. So I come from a nice long line of Longwood graduate program alumni. It's a really good program. So after I graduated there in 2015, I came back to the Arboretum after that whole time, and I was the assistant director of continuing education. So I worked with Jan McFarland, all the classes, the lectures, the conferences. So if you come to any of the classes, lectures, conferences in the past 5 or 6 years, that was things that Jan and I worked on to really build up. And we were doing, I think at our peak, we were almost doing 200 classes a year, almost 30 to 3,300 people a year, and then also conferences, which we had some really tree canopy conference, the landscape design symposium, we had the basic land conference, we had things for professionals that whole time, which is building a long history that Jan worked on for a long time, and we're still doing all that stuff today, albeit a bit more virtual. So we still have the tree canopy conference and other conferences and classes. We had a pivot, was it March? A year and a half ago, we actually pivoted a lot to do virtual stuff, and we're doing some in-person stuff. So the past 18 months is for education, as you all know, has been a big shakeup, a big change in how we have to reach people and do things. Yeah, so that is, I think it brings me in. Bob announced retirement, I would say a year and a half ago, and a year ago he retired on Labor Day, and that's when I came into this position here. So that's probably way too long, but I just apologize. That's kind of my whole background, where I come from, and I'm still an outdoorsy person. We still go camping a lot. Walk the dog every day, like being outdoors. Kayaking is still in my blood, and I'm a tree nerd and a tree geek. As much as I probably don't think I am definitely a tree nerd, and I hike with friends. And then it's in the spring, I will stop and look at Trillium, and they just want to keep on walking. Like spring wildflowers, amazing, new trees, interesting plants. I have a whole garden at home, which I put in a bog garden in the pandemic, which everyone does carnivorous plants. That was my big thing this past year. The pandemic was a bog garden, so pitcher plants, sundews, Venus flytraps, the whole thing. So I do nerd out on the plants as well, and that's been a growing thing. Geez, I guess ever since I've been here. And you can pause me anytime you want if there's questions. The next part we move into, so what's changed, I guess, in the past, like since Bob has left, the structure, obviously Paul has retired, Bob has retired, a lot of people have retired, and some of you may have noticed there's folks that are retiring, and I guess I know there's probably, hopefully everyone come to Bill's virtual talks over the past couple of months. You see, and Bill's laid out, hopefully, described a lot of what the changes are from his end, but obviously we have a new director, new positions coming up and people retiring. So there have been some changes in the last, and the pandemic has certainly changed things. So I can go over a few of those things. If there's specific questions you have, like what's different if I don't cover it, let me know. But just as I'll start with the education department. So my position that I have as Director of Education is not exactly the same as what Bob was as Director of Education and Visitor Experience. So when I was trying to list all the things that Bob was in charge of, and I was like, geez, man, that's a lot of stuff. Anyhow, so Bob's position back then was youth education, adult education, summer camps, urban forestry, the kiosk down at the bottom of the hill, the weddings, the rentals, the cafe, the gift shop, the mill, the archives, urban forestry. There's a school of arboriculture's in there, and section head. Section head. Also the intern program. I'm probably forgetting. There's a lot of stuff.
What's that?
What is? I don't know. There's like that's mostly it. So it's a lot of stuff. So when Bob retired, it was pretty obvious that the next person could not inherit that whole plate of things. So I've been here for, at that time, I guess about 5 or 6 years. Christopher Dorman, he was in Director of Visitor Experience. He came about 1.5 years before me. So we've both been here about the same amount of time. So actually the department that Bob was the director of split in two. So now there's Director of Education, which is most of the stuff you think of as education. So the youth education, adult education, the classes, conferences, summer camps, urban forestry is still in education. The intern program, all the education stuff is still there, but all the other stuff, the kiosk, the gift shop, the guest experience stuff, we manage the cafe, the wedding rentals, the other rentals, all that other stuff is Christopher. So we did split in two, and Christopher is growing his team. And back then, Christopher was the only full-time person with a whole team of part-time people. And now Christopher is pretty excited that he is now has 2 full-time people under him, which is amazing, and obviously a lot of part-time people under him. So his team has grown to support the visitor experience model, and as you'll probably see now and moving forward, the guest experience is right up there. It's right up there. We really want when people come here to have a great time. Come here, feel welcome. You feel like this is a place, you're welcome, you be here, you're learning something, and that's all with Christopher. So I am now all the Director of Education. So all those things I mentioned, that's kind of the biggest shift as far as the education department, those big things. There's other areas, I guess, I'm pretty familiar with my department of all the changes, and that as far as all the other departments and changes, there's definitely some few changes here and there. I don't know them as detailed. If you have specific questions with other departments, I can try to explain them if you heard things or have questions about them. The horticulture has definitely changed a little bit. They went from every section leader to having their own section that they mostly worked on alone. And now you may have noticed in the garden, I think Bill talked about it, there's now priority zones in the garden. So the core of the garden, which is the rose garden, Pennock, what we think of as the most formal, gets the most attention from the section leaders. Then as you get away from that core, it goes down to highest priority to a level B priority and C in the natural areas. So actually the hort area and section leaders are working a little bit differently now. And if anyone does horticulture volunteering, any hort volunteers, you probably notice that you don't work in a big group anymore, and hopefully what I'm saying is correct. You now work in smaller groups with section leaders and work a little bit differently. So that's probably something you might see as a little bit different in the garden, how that structure's changed a little bit. In education, some of the ways, I actually check all my notes now because there's all these things. How we're going to be changing education is we love all schools coming, but what we're going to focus on right from now moving forward is Northwest Philly schools. So all the schools that encompass this like Northwest quadrant of Philadelphia. So I don't want to try and name all the neighborhoods, but Mount Airy, Roxborough, Germantown, all the neighborhoods that kind of make this Northwest corner. That's where we're going to be focusing our school efforts to really get the schools closest to us, come more often, engage deeper. Can we get them to do more grade levels come, and not just younger kids, but can we engage them more elementary school, middle school, high school, developing programs for kids in the high school to come as be interns. Can we do job training or coaching internships for them as they move into their careers? And can we get more kids from this area of the city into more careers in the outdoors, whether it's horticulture, whatever? How can we facilitate that with the resources we have here? So it's not happening yet, but that's a goal we have in the next few years, is really engage those schools more. And one of the ways we're putting, we had a very generous donor give some money for a pilot program for a school outreach person. So this person is actually going to go out to the schools and ask them, what do you need? What do you need from us? What's the ways the Arboretum can better facilitate your learning experience, your students' learning experience? What are ways we can change? We need different programs. What do we have to do? Right now, if they're not coming, we don't know why they're not coming. So Eliza and Lisa are busy with all the schools coming here. And this new person is going to be out there. They're going to be asking all the different reasons why you're coming and what are the things that we can do to make you either come for the first time, bring students in multiple grades, or what will make you come back multiple times a year to really start to develop deeper relationships with schools in this area. So that's really exciting. The position was approved, and now it's now like getting it posted and starting to have people apply to it. And hopefully have that person come in this fall, and really hopefully by fingers crossed when students start coming back this spring, right? When students start coming back, we'll actually have that person really start hit the ground running with finding out why they're not coming and how to get them to come more often. Yeah.
Do you find that transportation, I mean, I know the pandemic's been an impediment to businesses coming, but is transportation also a big issue?
Yeah.
Is there anything the Arboretum can do to facilitate that?
Yeah. I mean, actually, we've been doing, for all Title I schools, we'll, and every correct me if I'm wrong, we'll provide free buses for any Title I school, which is any school in Philadelphia and a lot of other schools not in Philadelphia. So if you're in Northwest Philly Public School, we can get a free bus for you to come, as long as there's bus drivers, which are now experiencing. Yeah, there's now a bus driver shortage. So that is a huge impediment for people coming. And that's kind of why we want to focus on Northwest Philly, so that if they're a little bit closer, they're more likely to come more often. So yes, that's exactly.
And I think, sorry, but when you engage students in the Northwest area, it also hopefully pulls in families,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
To just appreciate what's here. It's closer for them to drive and get the bus. And, the ripples of families visiting here really carry on.
Does that mean schools in North Philadelphia and West Philadelphia are being excluded?
No, they're not excluded. I think it's just our efforts. Like right now, we haven't permeated all the way through Northwest Philly schools. Those schools can still come, but we're going to focus our efforts on getting those Northwest Philly schools to come more often. If we end up getting them coming.
Thank you.
Woo! I didn't realize that was happening until it's gone. But if we get to a point where like Northwest Philly schools are just filling up all of our slots, then we wouldn't have as many schools from North Philly or Southwest Philly or South Philly. But we're not there yet. It's going to be a little while before we completely fill all of our tour dates with Northwest Philly schools.
And we were consistently offering free bus, which has been a few years now, thanks to development, working on that. When we were getting schools from Northeast Philly, it was open to anyone on our website for anyone.
And a lot from Norristown, aren't we getting a lot of kids from Norristown?
Yes, sure.
So this is the first time I'm hearing about the free bus. I didn't know that the Arboretum had a fleet.
We don't have our own fleet. Sorry. We don't have a fleet of buses. These are not out. So we'll pay for the buses. So I think a lot of times
And schedule those buses.
Yeah, schedule them. Yeah. So I think SEG has been a provider that we've done for the town.
So they provide the buses and they schedule the schools and go pick them up and bring them here. Right?
No, Lisa does. I schedule.
No, you do that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the bag.
Okay.
And then ask that their invoice will get paid.
Yes.
Right, good. She's a bus driver too.
Bob?
Yeah, I just want to point out that that's possible because we have an endowment that people have given funds to
Okay.
Yes.
that is dedicated to underserved children.
Okay.
And so that's something that I've been happy to contribute to and support. And it's always available, and tax time coming up soon.
Yes, and I'll also say this new position for outreach, that's also another very generous Mars person has given him money for this position, to pay for this position as a pilot for the next 4 years. So this is, you know, we can't do stuff like this just like straight from our general operating fund. It's really generous people that, you know, see the need for this, they really want to contribute to it, and they make things like this possible. So yeah, we couldn't do some of these things, a lot of these things, without very generous people, including Bob, apparently that is given to that. Yeah, but I'm good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you're a Title I, and Title I, I forget the definition of Title I school. But it's like if majority of
There's a certain
students,
percentage of the school population that are,
we see like food assistance. Yeah, which is all Philadelphia.
and all
schools.
Philadelphia is right now.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely happening, and we're definitely.
All Philadelphia public schools.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
There are just, and private schools are not.
Okay.
Are you getting a good response from the schools that you're concentrating on, or is the pandemic still prohibiting them from coming?
I think, yeah, the pandemic is still prohibiting. Like now that schools are back in session, I think it was last week or a week and a half ago, we found out that all Philadelphia public schools said no field trips. Just, you know, it was like a week or 2 weeks into school, and it was just like, so we were obviously all ready to go for the fall. Like, you know, kids are back in school. We're a great outdoor destination. This will be a no-brainer. And of course, once kids get in the classroom, you think teachers are going to like, how do we find our ways out? Yeah, so the pandemic is definitely an impediment. Whether it's just the pandemic or it's a school bus driver shortage or a combination of things, we don't know. But we are hoping and crossing our fingers that come this spring, and we don't know. Yes, this is a lot of wait and see, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah, so the next thing that you might see is a little bit different is our events. And obviously pandemic has affected our events. Anyone's been to a Cherry Blossom Festival? Cherry Blossom Festival, our Fall Festival, our Bloomfield Farm Days. What else am I forgetting? We had a Korean Festival. So I think a few years ago, we definitely learned probably a tough lesson with festivals. We've been learning lessons about festivals all the time. But when you have something really good, I feel like I see a smile here. If anyone remembers, was it 3 or 4 years ago, we had one day where we blocked up traffic for miles around. It was, you could not drive within like 2 miles of the Arboretum because we were blocking traffic on Stenton, Northwestern, Germantown, Hillcrest. I think the police probably did not like what we were doing. It was when you have these big event days, sometimes you get a lot of people, and sometimes you get a lot of people. So we started shifting our thinking even then. This is going back 3 or 4 years. Maybe we shouldn't do these really concentrated event days that it's already a busy time in the spring anyway, because it's beautiful. And then you put these other events on top of it, and we get flooded. It's just like we get overwhelmed with people. We didn't hold it together, we were good, but we definitely like closed the gate that day, and we're like, phew, like we got through it. So as moving forward, we're not going to have as many or very many big event days like that. I think what you'll see a lot more of is like the Scarecrow Festival, where it's spread out over 6 weeks. The Holiday Guard Railway Nights is another one, spread out across weeks. We have things that are more of a spread out time. It's not 1 day or 2 days to really, because that could be tough on us. And the flip side to that Cherry Blossom Festival day is you get a rainy day, you do all that work, and then nobody comes. So the only times it's really great is when it's like perfectly in the middle. If you advertise too well, you get flooded, and then it rains, and then all that work is just completely washed out.
I just read in the Enquirer this morning that there's going to be a concert here on Saturday. Am I assuming that there's so many tickets available, when the tickets are gone, that's all you're allowing in?
Yes, and it's actually not us running that. It's kind of like a rental in a way. We're providing a facility for Penn from the Annenberg Center. So yeah, they're handling all the tickets. We're mostly providing the location. So it's like a big wedding rental, but not a the wedding. Yeah, it's like once it reaches its sellout, it's done.
So is it going to be closed to the general public for visitation?
It's going to be on Bloomfield Farm side, so it's not going to affect.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not going to affect here at all. It's all on the farm side, so it's not going to affect the normal visitation whatsoever. Yeah, so it's 1 o'clock on the farm, and I'm trying to read a description. It seems like it's a mobile musical performance that you have to follow along. So they're going to be walking and violining and musical instrumenting. You have to. It'll be interesting. My wife wants to come. I got the look on Bob's face. It's
What,
like,
is this after hours?
no, it's at 1 o'clock.
Boy, that wasn't clear.
That was not
This
made
stuff was
clear.
not clear from in the media stuff.
Well,
It's
yeah.
on the website.
And anyhow, 1 o'clock is, like I said, it's not us running it. We're the venue for the Annenberg Center. And some of the other things you guys might notice, Debbie.
Will there still be the once a month Bloomfield Mill days, the farm?
We're still right now we're still planning on doing the third Sundays, not farm days, but we do mill days.
Mill days.
Yeah. So we had one just last Sunday.
Last Sunday.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
last Sunday.
Yeah, it was last Sunday. We're going to do another one in October, and then pause for the winter, and do them again in the spring. But they're not. They're popular, but they're not going to we're not going to block up Northwestern Avenue on that middle days. As much as I would like them to be, we're probably not going to cause a police emergency with that middle days. So luckily it's on the other side, so it doesn't. We get the spread out. But last Saturday was a great mill day. We had 120 people.
Wow.
Definitely come if you're a member. Come next in October. It's a lot of fun. The millers love having people.
Are you still doing Thomas the Train, whatever that?
Yeah, I think that was last weekend too.
Was that last week?
Yep. And the other thing that you might see a change of is our intern program. So we went. I'm an intern alum, and so we're going from 9 year-round interns. So it's going to be 14 internships now. So it's going to have 3. We're going to go down from 9 year-round to 3 year-round interns, or they're going to be called fellows now for those year-round ones. And the other 11, geez, doing the math right, are now going to be 9-month interns. So we're going to go from our busy season, so March through November. So we're going to hire, with that change from year-round to 9 months, we can actually have more money to hire more interns. So education, instead of sharing an education intern, there'll be, Liza will have an intern, and Jen will have an intern. There'll be 2 arborist interns, I think double the amount of horticulture interns, double the amount of natural areas interns, there's going to be a marketing intern. It's going to be, we're going to be intern rich. So that's all about to go up on the website soon. We've got approval from Penn for all these new positions. So yeah, that's going to be 9-month positions from March to November when we're busiest. So we really get busy, as a lot of you know, in the springtime.
So who were the fellows?
The fellows, the year-round positions are the ones that definitely do very concentrated year-round work. So it's the propagation, urban forestry, and the plant. It's going to plant it's a botany intern. They're going about plant science now. So it's So Tim and Cindy do year-round plant research, and it takes them a long time to get their intern up to speed. So they're year-round. Propagation happens year-round, and urban forestry is going year-round. So some of the horticulture education definitely dips more in the winter, and that's why we shifted those to 9 months. You have
I just going back to your mill days.
Sure.
I was giving a 1 o'clock tour on Saturday, and a lot of people I talked to weren't aware. There was nothing up here that was educating people about the mill day happening.
Yeah, we had it at the bottom of the hill.
Up here, a lot of people that I spoke with didn't know about it
Yeah.
going on. So, like,
Yeah, I must say it's a thing that is for advertising. We try to do a lot of advertising, and yeah, we don't always hit everyone, but we try pretty hard. It was on social media, on our website, and there. But yeah, we should definitely put up here as well.
Yeah, because like when you go to the art museum, talking about this, you can get a schedule that day. You walk in and you say to people you're with, what's going on today? And there's a whole schedule of, there's talk, this point or what? At least in not Richard's but it's something
Start doing it.
And I will say
it's something I've noticed all along that people just don't have. You come in and they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that.
All right.
Things to do.
No, I'm down.
Okay.
That's perfect. So we need, because we don't know all the ways that people end up here, right? All those paths and sequences. They may have missed the signposts that we put out. And they come in and, I'm speaking in metaphor, because that's how I do it. But, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll wrap up with,
And I know we just started these, but I'm curious among the other guides who've been doing this 10:30 tour, you're getting at the daily 10:30 tour, people that are scheduled for 1 day a week. Has anybody been getting people?
Yes, I
think
have, but I always talk about one.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Well, there must be some today because Ann said she'd come to the meeting and
Right.
she didn't get any.
I saw her go out.
Yeah,
Right.
so she got some people.
And then the weekend tours, sometimes the gift shop doesn't put the sign in, so nobody knows about it until you get here, and then that's not, if you have it up when the gift shop opens up and you have that sign out there, I think people are more likely to say, oh, okay, I'm gonna come back and take the tour.
yeah.
And when it doesn't get out there, then usually okay.
So this, go ahead.
One more thought about the tour.
Yeah, sure.
For the 10:30 tour, if I don't have anybody standing there, I'll go and round them up. So that gives me a chance to talk to them. One of the things I found out is even though that sign is there, it doesn't say free. And since they paid for their admission, they don't know that this tour is free. And when I tell them it's free, they are like terrific. But there's nothing to indicate that this is a benefit of your admission. And-
Same
and
with
I
the
don't-
1 o'clock on weekends.
And
too.
the 1 o'clock, and I've done that too.
Great. Magic word.
Yeah. Say yeah.
So I have a question about the 1 o'clock on weekends, and I should know this, but I don't. Does
Uh,
that fall under education or does it fall under weekend?
It's education, it's scheduled from our office.
Okay.
It's all.
So when I do that 1 o'clock, it's part of the, because there were some things I did once, like with scouts, that didn't fall under this office. And
We had an event when Michelle Connors was here,
Yeah.
like a just big Girl Scout event. And so it's, think of who scheduled you for the activity, right? Where they work, that's who planned.
okay, so 1 o'clock is you, okay.
Yeah. All right. I know we're like running out of time, it's way longer, but yeah, the last thing is Lisa said like, how much do I talk to Bill? What's the future planning? There's all these things, other rumors. Like someone said, is there going to be a water slide? There's like, I was like, water slide? Probably not going to be a water slide, but I like the
How
suggestion.
about zip line?
Why not put it in? But I was like, what's in store for the Arboretum in the future? And I will say, we just selected a firm to start our next master planning process. And if anyone's been here long enough, I think our last master plan was done in 1976. Right?
Wow.
74. So like Paul and Bob worked his entire career to bring that from the 70s to 2020. So the driveway, Widener, bathrooms, the Port Center, everything, that was all laid out in the 70s, so done 45 plus years ago. All that took a master plan to put in process. And it took us 40 years to get it 99% done. And so now we're at a good time, and there's the whole thing of, what got you here won't get you there. So in the 1970s, they're planning for like, I don't know how many guests we were planning for in the 70s, thinking about the future, but we're now, I think in the pandemic, we reached almost 180,000 people, if I'm not mistaken. So we were like the 150 mark for a long time in the pandemic. People started coming. So now we're 180,000 people, and I'm sure you've all been here on busy days. The parking lot can get busy, the bathrooms can get busy, the kiosks can back up. There's all these pinch points that we never would have thought of 30 or 40 years ago, and it's now time to look at that again. So how do we look at the site? How do people navigate it? How do people get welcomed here? So this is all just starting now. I think Bill just announced the firm is, anyone knows Reed Hildebrand, they're a big planning firm. I think it's just announced like 2 days ago, Wednesday night. So this is like brand new. So it's a whole master plan of like, how does this site work and operate? How do we prepare for the next 40 or 50 years? So that's that's going to be coming up soon. So we're going to engage all the stakeholders. So it's staff, volunteers, people that live close by, our members, all that. What does it look like? And how do we get better prepared to move into the future? We don't know what all the questions. We don't know what all the questions are yet. But really, it's like where do we find pinch points? And I'm sure everyone here is like, there's one thing I can make a suggestion about is X. So we all have like those things, and that's what we'll be exploring in these next, I guess, over the next year. Is really like they'll be exploring, interviewing people, figure out like what are our pinch points. We know internally what some of our pinch points are. Like I said, we know the kiosk, on a busy day is not the best place to welcome people. There's also the same paths we walk on. There's also trucks and golf carts and cars in the same pathways, which is not the best. The education center, this building is not big enough for all of visitor experience and all of education to welcome everyone. The gift shop is small, the cafe isn't too big. So we know there's areas that we know already, but what are the other areas that we need to grow? So that's going to be something, exciting, moving forward. You'll all be engaged with at some level for that. We're also starting just now, we have a firm working with us, the ROS group, to do diversity, equity, and inclusion, to do an assessment of where we are now and how do we improve our diversity that comes to the Arboretum, visits, feels comfortable coming, our staff, our board members, all those things, right? I think our last, if someone who's been out here up front, it's not the same group. We've been doing guest surveys. You folks have seen a young guy out here doing surveys. We're starting to get, I'll back up to the ROS group. So we're going to be diversity, equity, inclusion work for getting recommendations for all those things. What's the perception of the Arboretum from a diverse group of people? Why do people not feel comfortable coming here? Is there only a certain segment of people that feel comfortable coming here, spending money to come here? So that's really we need to figure out how can we open the gates more, make it feel like a more open and welcoming place. Now when people come both to work here, be on the board, and visit. And then for the visitor surveys, they've been doing that to really kind of shape the ROS group and diversity efforts, but also everything we do. So we don't really know, we could all make guesses of like, what's the diversity group coming, or people coming here? We don't know. What's the age groups of people coming here? We don't really know. So that's what those folks have been doing, like why do you come? What's your age? How do you identify yourself? We've been trying to get a nice baseline of our current demographic of people coming here and why do they come. So I'm not sure if anyone of you have participated in their surveys, but we've been getting really good information of just the types of people that are coming and why they come, why they don't come, what are they looking for, what are they not looking for. So that's been going on. It's been interesting to see what some of those early results are. You always have a thought of what the types of people that come are, and then you actually see it on like numbers and spreadsheets, and you're like, well, there it is, And so I think they've interviewed over 400 people so far. Their goal is to be like 500 or 600, and so the whole thing it's in the statistics. We're definitely in the realm of having a significant sample size of people that come here. So that's going on in the future. Anything else? The master plan is going to be big. I think that's all that. There's probably, if you have more questions, but definitely the master plan is going to be fun. I'm really excited to see the ideas that come out for how are we going to move this place. Bill's excited about growing this place, educating more people, having more people visit, and how do we really make an impact on this area of Philadelphia, but also the region. So really welcoming more people into the garden, and how we just extend that impact further and broader, and really we already are a great garden, but really elevating our level to still being a great garden in the area and across the country. So if there's more questions. I know it's been like an hour now, which means...
Well, I had one write-in question.
Oh, yeah.
And it was hard to predict, probably, but assuming things get back to normal, is there any plan to resume evening yoga at the Arboretum?
Yes, we did do
in the spring.
Yeah, we did do evening yoga last spring, and we're going to have evening yoga probably again next spring. Yeah. So we had smaller groups this spring than we had in the past, but people like it. The time frame might be shifted a little bit, where it's not as late in the evening, might be closer to our closing time, but still evening yoga. Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
So when Bill first, I think he gave this maybe in person talk, when he first came on about his interest in, he talked quite a bit about his interest in native plants.
Yeah.
And he was coming from Maine.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious, I mean, I really love seeing all the Asian plants, but my heart is really with natives.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to see it go to all one, but I'm tired of people going to Bowman's Hill to see native wildflowers in
Yeah.
spring when they could come here when they're so close.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, has he talked any more about that?
Yes. Yeah, I think you'll probably see like plant exploration or focus on the plant science will shift from Asia and the Caucasus to the United States and native plants. And he definitely wants to put in more, he likes things that pop. Like if you saw the new step fountain, that whole garden there, he likes, and that's a pollinator, so he likes native plants, pollinated plants. That's definitely like from his prodding. I think the ellipse garden, I don't know all the plant palettes in all those different gardens, but he definitely does want more native plants and more perennials for sure, and annuals. Yeah, I mean the tulips are also another, not native, but so you'll see more, I'm not going to say less focus on trees, but he wants to add a lot more, 8 feet and down stuff for us to look at. But he is a native plant, yeah, he loves native plants. So we're not going to be cutting down like the trees or anything, but yeah, I think as we move forward, he's going to be looking for interesting native plant species to focus the garden.
I just envision sometimes a whole area dedicated to native plants, and maybe it's down in the wetland, where you can go and there's a calendar, like at Bowman's Hill. So you feel pretty secure as you're looking at plants that are native, because it's difficult in the Maine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he also wants to label more, like labeling of plants. He's taking that he wants to label more plants quicker. So Eleanor Goff was our plant recorder for 45 years. She just retired, and that position is going to go, she was a part-time plant recorder, even though she probably worked more with a full-time schedule. That's going to go from a part-time to a full-time position, and he wants to get a much faster like laser engraver that can crank out tags a lot quicker than the metal pressed ones. So he wants way more plants labeled, which hopefully
Because the herbaceous, you really don't have a chance when you're giving it tour.
Yeah, so that's hopefully as as that position gets filled, and that it's like I think Jenkins has one. I think it's Peter Jenkins. They have like a laser engraver. You really can crank out labels a lot quicker, so we don't have to I've never actually had to use that coppery press one, but I know it wasn't fast.
You had mentioned that the Philadelphia School District had called off all tours. Our neighboring districts such as Springfield, Plymouth, White Marsh, etc., have they made the same decision? And if they haven't, would it behoove our outreach person to start contacting them so we can get some here and now and maybe some spillover for the spring?
Yeah, I would say our outreach person isn't even, we haven't even posted the position yet. Yeah, so when they get them here, absolutely. Well, we haven't heard yet from other school districts. Springfield School District was here doing like a retreat, and I was chatting with the principal as I walked to the parking lot, and he was saying, we are going to do a field trip. So it seems like each other school district is doing, or as I know, they're making their own decisions, but the bus driver shortage, I'm not sure how that's affecting
Well, I
everyone.
definitely reached out to them.
Okay.
Following that, I just can't imagine that. It's a lot in a normal year, right? To scoop together all the resources to make a field trip happen. And then now with things so uncertain, I don't know.
Yeah.
In my mind, they're in a right? They gotta be sort of frazzled with the regular goings on.
Yes, and we have other school districts that have like tornadoes going through their districts and things. It's pretty wild.
A number of years ago, we did slideshows at retirement homes. And could we do something similar in the schools if they're not coming out? Could we do an outreach in?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we hope the new outreach person will look into is if they're like, we just can't go to you, but if you came to us to look at our outdoor spaces, could we do programming at schools? It's definitely something we're looking at. But I think we want to wait for that outreach person to come and really, get a consensus of schools. Like, if everybody's like, we just can never make it to the Arboretum as much as we want to get there, but could you come out there? It probably depends on the school, but I think everything's on the table. Whether or not, I used to do outreach stuff, it's not, let's say it's you have to like navigate tubs and carts and slides and all that and get out there, but it's definitely, it makes it much easier for the schools to go out there.
I've heard from many parents about the 4 p.m. closure. They want us to stay open till at least 5 o'clock in the spring and the fall because they would enjoy bringing their kids here, pick them up from school, come in, spend an hour in the garden, and not just on the weekends, and then they go home, have dinner, and do homework. But 4 p.m. eliminates any visits for school-age kids during the week.
Yeah, I think we have to remember our schedule, but I know it's like, it's 9 to 5 and then 10 to 4.
It says on the sign, the front door open to 5.
Yeah.
It changes
It
in
changes
summer.
Yes, but I think our love would be to be open much later. I know right now it's Pocket Packet is way more than I can, but it's the paying people, it's the hours, it's that, I know, but can we afford it with all the staffing to keep open and safety? But yeah, I think if we could stay open later and make it, make the dollars and cents work, absolutely could. Yeah.
You mentioned a firm called Arboretum. Tell us more about what they do.
Yeah. I guess Reed Hildebrand, they're going to be the principal design lead, I guess. They're like a design firm, and they're going to have subcontractors under them. They're the big design team that's going to be leading the efforts into the investigation of our current grounds, the landscape, how our operations work, and they'll be leading the charge, with the folks from Penn and Bill. So we're kind of leading it to organize this whole master planning effort. So they'll be they'll be contracted to lead the master planning efforts with us. So they have the resources they've done this with other organizations and other gardens, and so they'll be kind of overseeing and guiding this whole master planning process. I haven't gone through a major master planning process, so it's something internally I think we can't really do on our own because you don't always know, you're not looking at yourselves objectively. So they're a good, outside, person to look at, how we are and how we do things. And they have lots of contacts and subcontractors that can help with, different ways of looking at things. They work with other gardens.
What other gardens?
I don't know all the other guys. I can let you. They're definitely if you Google them, you can see. I know they're in Longwood now doing their new. They're doing the new conservatory at Longwood. I think they're in a lot of. I looked at it yesterday. I don't have to memorize, but a lot of other big public gardens in the United States they work with, doing either big projects or master planning projects. They're a big firm. Now I'm not sure. Bob, you know how big Reed Hildebrand is?
Big.
Very good. Confirmed by Bob. They're big. Yeah, there's some really big firms out there, and they're a big one. Yeah.
I don't know what other public gardens are doing about presenting their scope to the public. A number of times you use the word gardens in talking about this place. Would it be more descriptive if this was called the Morris Arboretum and Gardens? 26 years ago when I started guiding here, there was criticism about people saying, well, there's nothing much to see, it's all trees.
Yeah.
There's no color. And then we got an infusion of money, I think, from the Pennock, and we started with a flower walk. Recently, when I walk around and do tours, I'm amazed at how much garden there is that there wasn't then. So when the public is being told this is the Arboretum, are they getting a full idea that this is larger than just an Arboretum, but there's a lot of garden to appreciate?
Yeah, and that'll probably lead into another effort that's going to happen. Is just that we probably will start looking into a rebranding effort before too long. So I think that's one of those considerations. The people, I go down to Penn campus for Penn students, and it says Morris Arboretum, and shockingly, Penn students, they're like, what is an arboretum? They have no idea what an arboretum is. And you would think, Penn students, they should know what an arboretum is.
Well, their campus is.
What's that? Exactly. But yeah, I think you're right. A lot of people don't know what an arboretum is, would a garden be better. But I think as we go into these rebranding efforts, that's a thing that we'll probably have to take into consideration. Should we still be called the Marsh Arboretum, or is it Marsh Arboretum and Gardens? Is it Marsh Arboretum Garden? Yeah, but you're right. There's been, like we said, not just the Rose Garden and Pennock, but the Step Fountain and the tulips and everything. We're definitely an arboretum and a lot of garden, a lot of non-tree plants. Yeah, but yeah, we're just hiring a new. So some of you may know Susan Crane. She's our director of marketing for a long time. She retired, and we're about ready to announce our new director of marketing. And this rebranding is one of the things that's going to be on their plate to jump into.
I just counted 74 people on their staff list.
Sorry? Oh.
74 people on the Overbrand staff list.
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, so they're a big firm. Yeah, they're big. And also, it's when you actually look at them, it's not them doing all the work. They'll have like 4 different firms. There's like a landscape architecture firm. There's like a design and construction firm. There's like a public. Yeah, there's all these specialists that then they like subcontract to. So they're like the general contractor, I guess, if this is more of a construction thing. Then there's like the subs under that, but they're the main leads.
I was doing a tour, so I missed this. If
Great,
this question
thank
was
you.
asked, I apologize, and you can just tell me to wait for the video, but you discussed what are you guys doing about the 2 little fawns that are walking about the garden? I just saw
There's more than 2.
Oh, I just see these 2 all the
Yeah.
time. Are they staying, or are you?
I don't think.
They're practically pets. They don't even move when you walk by them.
I wouldn't say the intent was to keep. I mean, the whole point of the deer fence,
Right.
And all these amazing flowers that we're talking about, the gardens. I mean, a couple of deer, even though they're small, they will destroy entire gardens in a couple of nights. So I don't think the intent is to keep them in.
Yeah, I remember like in the summer, a mother was still here, and she seems to be gone, but I just saw.
Yeah, I'm imagining. I think when we do like bow hunting, controlled bow hunting. I forget when we do that. It's the winter, but I'm assuming we'll do the hunt when there's fewer people here tonight to get them out and have one effort to get them out. I think the hard thing now is the deer fence is great, but every time it floods, the deer fence just goes. It's a big sieve. So it's not great. The deer fence is great when it works. It's not great when it floods. And I think Bill said, yeah, everyone told me, like, it's a 100-year flood. What happened every 100 years? He's like, it's happened every year I've been here. So we've had 200-year floods in 2 years. So that deer fence went from standing, and then once the deer fence is down, it's wide open. So, yeah, so it's, and then once they're in, and I know it's really hard to get rid of the babies, but but we
You need shepherd dogs. No, a trained shepherd dog to do
We
it.
had dogs once. They made friends with the deer.
No, you could train the dogs that herd to do that. They'll do it.
I keep seeing off of the fence along. Whatever the road is, northwest of
the iron fence.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not the deer fence.
No, I know, I mean,
That's
you don't know to go there?
That's not the fence keeping the deer out. So they can actually, I think they did that so the deer wouldn't get, impaled on the fence. They actually put some openings in so they could navigate back and forth. But it's the creek. It's
Paper Mill Run.
Yeah, sorry, Paper Mill Run. The fence goes along that. So that's the actual deer fence is Paper Mill Run. The iron fence is, right now it's more ornamental. So I think, and they made those openings so they wouldn't get impaled. Just trying to leap over it. So have we consulted the Schuylkill Wildlife Center in getting the deer out? I think Vince is the main person handling all the deer things, and I tried really hard not get too involved in it. But I'm not sure if he's consulted with that. Yeah, so I think most of,
Fairmount Park does a big,
yeah.
all through the city, they do their one.
Is this the
Bless you all for concern about the deer, not his job. But we'll take all of this into consideration and definitely ask Vince what he's
Yeah. We need to get Vince up here and drill it.
which we can, maybe we can. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.